Welcome back to AM Northwest. You know, so often history books focus on the exploits and adventures of men, usually white. But our next guest is changing that. Here to share her new book, The Explorers, A New History of America in 10 Expeditions, we welcome historian Amanda Bellows. Good to have you with us, Amanda.
Thank you so much.
How did you get the research? How did you pick all these explorers? First of all, let's talk about how did you pick the ones you focused on?
Yes. Well, there are 10 explorers in the book, and each one represents a different period in U.S. history. So we start with the Corps of Discovery's journey to Oregon from Missouri, and we go all the way through the space race and Sally Ride. You'll notice that there are a mix of familiar and unfamiliar names.
Right.
So familiar names meaning people you might not have thought of as being explorers, like Amelia Earhart or Sally Ride. And then unfamiliar names, you know, people whose stories have been overlooked by historians, like Matthew Henson, the son of sharecroppers who went to the North Pole, Harriet Chalmers Adams, and some other figures.
Let's start with someone we've heard about, Sacagawea, but we didn't really know the true full story. So tell me about her, what we didn't know.
Sure, yes. Well, I don't know if most people know just what a tough life she had. You know, she was born in present-day Idaho, kidnapped at the age of 12 and brought to what's today the Knife River Villages in North Dakota. So she was living there with her husband. She was forced into marriage to a French-Canadian trader named Toussaint Charbonneau. And she was pregnant with his child when the Corps of Discovery made their way to that region. So she and her husband joined the Corps of Discovery and made their journey then across the country. And Sacagawea played a really important role on that expedition.
And what was her personality like? Because she was a tough girl.
I would say stoic is a word that comes to mind.
Yeah.
You know, she had just had her child 8 weeks before she went off across the country with this group of men. And so she was physically very tough, and she was very intelligent. She must have been a kind person as well. So I really admire her for all of those traits.
Oh my gosh. And how did you find this out? How did you find out these little things?
Well, so her story, I think, is the only one in the book where she didn't leave her own written record about her life.
Okay.
So most of the information we know about Sacagawea comes from the journals of Lewis and Clark.
Okay, gotcha. All right, let's do Matthew Henson. Tell me about him. And you found him most fascinating, right?
Yes, Matthew Henson, I think, is my favorite explorer in the group. So he was an African-American man born to sharecroppers in Maryland. He grew up in the Jim Crow era, and he was orphaned at a young age. But what's really remarkable is that he made his way around the world as a cabin boy and joined Robert Peary's expedition to the North Pole. So the two of them teamed up. Robert Peary was white and was kind of the leader of the expedition, but Matthew Henson played an extremely pivotal role in their multiple attempts to reach the North Pole, to be the first people in the world to get to the North Pole.
I mean, did he face discrimination in that process? I would think he would have.
Tremendous amount of discrimination. You know, people said to him, because you're black, you're not able to withstand the cold of the North Pole. You know, you're not able to endure the rigors of this.
Right.
And he just said, I'm going to prove you wrong. And he did. And it's likely that he was, you know, even ahead of Robert Peary in terms of reaching the geographic North Pole.
Oh my gosh, incredible. Oh, here's an older picture of him.
Yes, he's holding a photo of Robert Peary there.
Yeah,
yes.
Fantastic. Okay, let's talk about Sally Ride.
Yes, another inspiring figure from U.S. history.
So inspiring, yes. Tell me about her.
Born in California, she went to Stanford, and she ended up joining NASA's astronaut training program, and she was the first American female astronaut to go into space. So she went on the Challenger in 1983.
And what did you find interesting about her life and her hopes and goals?
Well, she didn't know that she didn't always harbor the dream of becoming an astronaut when she was young. So it was interesting to see kind of the course of how she was interested in science, and she studied physics, and then that ended up, you know, leading her into NASA's program. So she worked extremely hard. She was very smart. And you know, she had the courage and the dedication to learning how to be an astronaut, and that's why she was chosen for that role.
Yeah. When it comes to researching, did you do any physical things? Did you drive from place to place?
I did. Well, I took a road trip from Missouri all the way to Oregon. So following in the footsteps of the Corps of Discovery's expedition, and then also stopping at different sites along the way relating to other explorers from the book.
How does that help you? Because you're not in that time period when they lived.
Right. Well, what's great about reading the journal, you know, you're reading the journals and you're seeing the country through the eyes of Lewis and Clark. And then you're seeing it on your own. And so some of the things are similar in terms of the geographic landscape changing. But of course, you're also more aware of how much development there's been. So it was just an amazing experience to see the country changing, I think, going from one part to the other and thinking about how they experienced it.
And why was it important to you to focus on people that maybe, like Sacagawea, we've heard of her, Sally Ride, we've heard of her, but in a different way? Why was it important for you to focus on them?
Yeah, so I think exploration is just a really important part of U.S. history. There's that spirit of discovery that we see across each generation of explorers. And one thing we haven't talked about really is that, you know, many of these people were looking for more freedom than they were experiencing in their own lives. So one of the explorers was born into slavery, finds freedom on the frontier. You know, you have women who have these aspirations that they're not able to fulfill, you know, in the 1900s, 1800s. So by being explorers, they could then kind of find themselves and push those boundaries too.
Absolutely.
Yep.
We want to tell everyone you have a book event, and that's tonight at Powell's City of Books on West Burnside. We're going to put all the information for you on our website at KATU.com. The book again is The Explorers, A New History of America in 10 Expeditions. Amanda Bellows, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
All right, we'll be right back with more information, or with more AM Northwest. Don't go away.